This conversation is for Black Americans. Why do you claim to be an Aboriginal American Indian indigenous to America when in fact we are descendants of West Africans? From the time I was born until currently, there have been several different instances or groups that have come out and say, we're the real Israelites, we're the real Jews, we're Egyptians, we're kings and queens. And it just proves the type of erasure that the colonial people did to us in America. I came across 3 videos just now, which really, really threw me for a fucking loop. And I try to stay away from this topic. I always have. But these videos are just, they were over the top.
We're not from Africa, we are natives. It's our land, we all know about the slave ships. We're not from Africa, we indigenous. I need you to listen, I need you to be getting this. We not black, that's the curse.
So this is how you know slavery ain't really happened. Tell me why modern day 2025, we don't have any boats coming directly from Africa to America. There's no way to get to Africa on a boat. Anybody came over here on boats, we know it was the West Indians, the Caribbeans, the South Americans, somebody close. Nobody came from Africa on no boats. And we know that Caribbeans is us. They're the chosen ones as well. We know.
American Indian here, African where? I said American Indian here, African.
Ichato, Idija, Movi, Katiwi, Achuvanuk, Avavi, Lanipi.
What's wrong with y'all? You niggas are crazy!
A lot of these claims stem from the fact that there were people who discovered, I use that term very loosely, there were people who explored the American continents far before Columbus. Abu Bakr II of the Malian Empire, he sent out a voyage of over 2,000 ships to go across the Atlantic, and they never returned. And that's how Mutamanta became that emperor, the richest man in the world. Scandinavians also landed in Canada in the North American continent 2 centuries before Columbus. So people have explored the Americas way before the Europeans discovered the Americas, but they did not settle here. Let's get into some of the claims that you guys say as to why we are originally from here. People often talk about the slave ships, and there is nothing more documented by Europeans than their most lucrative entity ever, which was the transatlantic slave trade. It is documented in Africa. The kingdoms that also interacted with Europeans have oral and written history of them capturing and selling slaves to the Europeans. And this I discovered on the ground in Nigeria. So this is not a fallacy. It's something that actually occurred. But it was so lucrative for them that all of the slaves that were bought on the ships were backed by insurance policies. And some of the insurance companies we know today, like AIG, exist because they were there to insure slaves. Some of the people who captured slaves were throwing slaves off of the ships in order to gain money because they knew some of them are going to die anyway. So let's just kill them so we can get their insurance payment. And these things are heavily documented. It's not a myth that this happened, to the point where the UK, which is where American slavery started, the UK, when they ended slavery, they had a campaign to pay back the families who were the original slavers for hundreds of years. Benedict Cumberbatch, the guy who plays Doctor Strange, his family were slavers, and they got paid by the UK government for years for that atrocity. And since you guys claim that we are originally from here, we're aboriginal to America, I want someone in the comments to name me 3 aspects of this original culture and group of people that exist within Black culture today that don't include Native American, Indigenous, West African, and European elements. You can't, because it's most certainly not the food, because the food is definitely European, West African, and Native American. Most certainly isn't the religion, because hoodoo and other spiritual religions that we practice as Black people all come from West Africa. And it most certainly can't be the language. So what is it? Especially when Native Americans are alive and well. I think as Black people, if you, a member of the colonized group in America, add to the erasure of Native Americans, it is the biggest slap in the face, especially because Native Americans document their history so well, orally and written. You can go to a reservation today and go to a Native American library. You can read firsthand accounts of how they lived pre the Columbian period and how they lived once they encountered the Europeans and once Africans came in and encountered with them. Now, it may be true that some of us have trace amounts of Native American DNA or large amounts of Native American DNA, because in the South, when the natives were captured, they were working side by side with the enslaved Africans, and some of them procreated. That's a fact. That's not anything I would ever deny. But the majority of us are West African and European DNA. That's just how it is. There was that girl that came online. It was faking like she spoke a native language, in which many Native Americans don't even speak their language because they are also colonized, right? And so the Europeans added to their rage. Imagine a people that are alive and well. When you look at Mexicans and you see the Mexican phenotype, they're native. You look at Ecuadorians, they're native. You look at Peruvians, those are native people. They're not phenotypically African. I can take someone's uncle I can take a little man, big fella, whatever you call him in the South, from Mississippi or Alabama, and go to Nigeria, and that'll be Wale or Chinedu in Nigeria. And I've seen that with my own eyes. Going to see how phenotypically we look exactly the same in both places, that should be evidence enough, but it's not for you guys. But to ignore the fact that the natives of this land exist and they're here, and you're ignoring them, you're no better than a colonizer. You're no better than a European, because imagine you also being a member of the colonized group, erasing the people who were actually from here. It is okay to find beauty in who we are. It's okay to find beauty in our ancestors, but it's not okay to disrespect our ancestors. Because when you say you're this thing, that the pretendian, as Dr. Umar called it, you're disrespecting the fight and the strife that our ancestors made, many of them who were killed, hung, strung up, died in the Middle Passage. You're erasing all of those things. And for the life of me, I can't understand why you think that's okay. I can't. And I get it. I get, like, America, the only other country that's like America is Brazil, in terms of demographics and in terms of Africans staying in the country of their oppressor. It is. The difference between America and Brazil is Brazil imported so many Africans. Over 45% of the transatlantic slave trade went to Brazil. And so you have this country, which is a massive country, and they're the number one country with Africans outside of Africa. They couldn't erase their identity. They couldn't erase their connection. So you have Brazilians in Bahia, which is in Salvador. It's so black there. They practice candomblé, which is, African spirituality, and they're using Yoruba words. And if you're black and you go to Brazil, they were like, "Oh, you're my brother. We're from Africa." They have that. In America, they did a really fucking good job at beating it out of us, killing it out of us, lynching it out of us, raping it out of us, to the point where we are in this country that is the world's sphere. And then Black Americans became the world stage. And so I think we, over time, had to feel the need to be greater than our story. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with our story and us existing in the Americas because of slavery, but that's not the start of our story. And I think you guys are giving that slavery aspect too much power, so you feel the need to be something greater than that. I think it's okay to be who you are. There's power and strength in what we've built and developed here. There's nothing, for me, being a member of the diaspora, there's nothing stronger and more beautiful in every single country that we exist in than the cultures that we've made, the food that we've created, the music we've created, and the fact that we're still here. We're still here. We're thriving, we're alive, and we're beautiful. It is okay to be who we are and have our origin story tell us who we are. Stay blessed, stay Black.